Hey everybody, the Miss Peg here. Just want to put together a one-day fix for fractions today on this short Wednesday. Hopefully we can get both of these pages done, so I'm going to get right into it. Today you should be able to add and subtract fractions. It's something that people think is very hard to do, or they have really bad experience with it. But here I want to let you know that fractions are not hard, okay? They actually aren't. So I want to give you what I call the flag. So if you look on your paper, there's an area here and it says draw in here. So I'm going to give you what I call an SOS flag. This is like the flag you wave when you need help or you want to surrender. You need, okay, fine, just tell me what it is. I give up. I'm going to tell you what it is here on this flag. So the first thing you're going to draw into this flag is you're going to start over here in the corner and you want to come down maybe about that far and put an arrow. All right, so it's a diagonal arrow going downward, kind of has a downward slope. And then I'm going to repeat that over here with a matching upward arrow, but it's still pointing downward. But so you would have created an X with the arrows on the bottom. And then the last part is across the bottom right here. Okay, so once you have this symbol right here, this kind of an X with this line with these little arrows on it, you have to remember that in your mind, that whenever you need help with fractions, think of this first. Now, today we're going to be working, first we're going to be working with add or subtract. So anytime you see adding or subtracting fractions, this is what I want you to do. Now, we don't have time to play hangman, and there's nobody here on the computer with me. So I'm going to give you what this symbol means, and you're going to fill in the letters here. But I'm going to give you a chance to try to guess as you go along. So I'm going to fill in the letters fairly randomly. The first one I'm going to fill in is all my S's. So go ahead and write those S's in. Isn't that weird? Okay, so I have that one here. Now I'm going to put in some T's. All right, you may be wanting to guess some letters to put in. I'm going to choose next an R. Kind of strange how that's coming together here. And I'm going to go with an H. Kind of fills in that one. I know you can imagine probably an E. I'm going to go with a C. Interesting how this is coming together, that those two first words look very similar. And I'm going to fill in a B, an M, an E, an A. And so here you may say, I think I know what goes in here across the bottom. That's step 3 when we are going to add and subtract fractions. We're going to multiply across the bottom. I'll show you what that looks like. So these first two ones are those X's that we put together, which is criss and cross. So we're going to crisscross, makes an X. And if you can remember crisscross across the bottom, you'll always have the help you need with fractions. I've never had anybody not get this right. Let me scroll down on my page here, and let's see what the bottom looks like. So let's put this into use. We have example 1. So I say use the flag, crisscross across the bottom. So what it would look like, I have 2 over 5 plus 4 over 7. So I'm going to go criss, cross, and then across the bottom. And I'm just going to multiply those numbers. 2 times 7 is 14. 4 times 5 is 20. And so what is across the bottom? 5 times 7. That's under both sides. So I'm going to put 5 times 7 is 35 and 35. Those both go on the bottom. So what I did was I multiplied my criss, I multiplied my cross, and I multiplied across the bottom. Whatever was here, add or subtract is what's going to stay. Ours was adding. Well, you should know the rule that when you add fractions, they have to have a common denominator. That's this 35 and 35. So we keep the 35. That's our common denominator. Now you're going to add your numerators, which is the top number. 20 plus 14 is 34. So I have 34 over 35. Let's try this in example number 2. This is another addition problem, so I already filled in the plus sign for you. So crisscross across the bottom. I always kind of just write it in like this, and that's my flag, my help flag. 5 times 10 is 50. 3 times 8 is 24. 8 times 10 is 80. That's across the bottom for both of them. Keep my denominator. Now I have 24 plus 50, which is 74. If you're not so good with the math, just use a calculator. Remember, we will have to reduce these in the future. Okay, so example 3 has a subtraction. So now we're not adding, we're subtracting now. So I brought my minus sign down right away. You're going to have to remember that on your own for the next one. So here I'm going to do multiply Chris. 7 times 5 is 35. Multiply cross. 2 times 8 is 16. And then multiply across the bottom. 8 times 5 is 40. Across the bottom is for both of them. That's my denominator that stays. So that's easy. Now look at what I have here. 16 minus 35. If you have $16 and you take away $35, well, this 35 is negative and this 16 is positive. So I have to use my rule. They're opposites, so I'm going to do the opposite. So I'm going to say 35 minus 16. I'm going to subtract instead of add. Okay, so I come up with 19. So 16 minus 19 is 35. I'm sorry. 16 minus 35 is 19. But wait, is it positive or negative? Well, the 16 is smaller than the 35. 35 is bigger, so we keep the sign of the bigger, which is negative 19 over 40. So can we have a negative fraction? Yes, we sure can in algebra. Welcome, and I'm glad that you're here. All right, so the last one here is 3/4 minus 1/3. So I'm going to do cross. So 3 times 3 is 9. 1 times 4 is 4. And what needs to go here in the center? You got it, a minus sign. It's a minus for this time. And then across the bottom, 4 times 3 is 12. All right. Now, so here's my question. Keep my denominator. Can I do 4 minus 9? If I have $4, can I take away $9? Well, you can. It's just going to go negative. So this 9 is a negative. The 4 is a positive. So instead of adding, you have to subtract. You have two different signs. So you're going to take 9 minus 4 is 5. The 9 is negative, so it's negative 5 over 12. Can we have a negative fraction? Yes, we can. We just talked about that. Good job. Let's take a break. I'm going to pull up the next screen. I'm really bad at this. Okay, so here's our next screen. Let me pull this up. Okay. Now, I want you to take a moment and summarize. So think about what we did for adding and subtracting. And it says, how do you add or subtract fractions? I want to give you a moment there to summarize that in your own words. It can just be a sentence or two. After you do that, I want you to go ahead and do some practice. So I'm going to help you with only a couple on the practice, which will be this one here. 2 times 8 is 16. 1 times 5 is 5. It's adding. And across the bottom, we have 5 times 8 is 40. What would you do with those two numbers? Keep the denominator. Add the tops. Okay? Pay attention on this one because it is a subtraction. Make sure you put the subtraction in there. All right, take a few minutes to do that. I'm going to pause it and give you the opportunity and come back in just a moment. All right, hopefully you had some success with that. We want to go to the next section. So this is a one-day fix for fractions, and so you've learned how to add and subtract very quickly, and I hope you have confidence with that. And so multiply and divide is going to have a different rule. Okay, and so there's another hangman here that we cannot play because we are on the computer, but I want to let you know here in this rule. Ready? Write this in. It's easy. So multiplying and dividing fractions is so simple. So for an example, if you have a fraction times a fraction, you are happy. You can do this. That's the first note you need to know. The second note is this. It is wrong and you cannot do it if you have a fraction divided by a fraction. Actually, you're going to have to flip that thing, okay? So here, that's bad. So you have the sad face. So how can we turn the sad face to a happy face? You're going to flip them. So here, if I had 2/5 times 3/4, okay, I'm going to show you what to do with that. But here, if I had 2/5 divided by 3/4, what would change? This one is happy, this one is not. You're going to keep your 2/5 in the beginning, so that transfers. So happy, we're changing 2/5. This is going to change to multiply. Change your division sign to multiply. And you're going to flip this last fraction. So you have 3/4. Well, what is the opposite or the flip of that? It's called the reciprocal. It's a big word, reciprocal. I'm going to change the denominator to the numerator and the numerator to the denominator. So if I had 3/4, I'm going to put 4/3. Now I'm super happy because I look like this. I can have multiplication. So now that you know that, it's just too easy because our sign for this, if we had a flag to make for this that we can get help every time, it would look like this. Two straight lines across, because all we do is multiply across the top numbers. This example has 3 times 2 is 6. And then multiply across the bottom numbers. So you have 4 times 8 is 32. We are going to be working with reducing soon. Okay, so come back to this one. I would come straight across. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 4 is 24. And then I'd reduce it. So what about the one that was 2/3 divided by 3/4 that we changed to multiply? 2 times 4 is 8. 5 times 3 is 15. We don't have to spend any more time on that. When you multiply, you go straight across the top, straight across the bottom. If there's divide, we absolutely cannot do it. We're going to keep the first term, change it to multiply, and then flip that thing. Multiply across the top and across the bottom. So you'll have a few minutes to yourself to practice some of these. I'm going to put some up on the board. They are due today. Try to get them all done and then have quiet time. Thank you, guys.